Yo, what's up? This is Jay Dennis, and we're back with another Ranked and Reviewed. And today we are doing the band that is responsible for Who's Sleeping on the Right Side of the Bed Tonight. Sorry, if you're still with me, we are doing a massive band from my high school days, Atreyu. I can't believe I'm 35 videos deep into this playlist, and I have not done Atreyu yet. But they just put out a new album earlier this summer, and we're going to do their 8 albums dating from 2002 up until their most recent 2021. Some of these I time in conjunction with the latest release. Other times, I don't know if they're ever going to do another album, so I just feel like doing it anyway. Atreyu was a pretty big band for me in high school. I have a Taste of Chaos shirt from 2008 that I wore for years, and I still have it. It's like a workout shirt now because I cut it up. But I was super into these guys from like sophomore year to senior year, and then kind of on again, off again ever since. You know, mostly consuming their first 4 albums and their greatest hits album. I was planning on doing a video of this because I own 3 of their albums, including the greatest hits album, but I wasn't able to get my hands on the other ones, so I'm just going to be doing a audio slideshow video today. But re-listening to these guys, I'm very happy that these guys were part of my life. I certainly did not age out of listening to them. I think I've seen them live 3 or 4 times, and oddly during the Congregation of the Damned era, like in 2010, they were headlining a show. I think they were playing with like As I Lay Dying, Bless the Fall, and a couple of other bands, and I ended up leaving. So part of me regrets that, but I think it was just getting late, and I just was going through a phase where after my senior year of high school, there was a lot of metalcore bands and other bands that I just wasn't super as into at the time, so I felt like I could write them off. But beyond that one experience, I still love Atreyu, and I liked them quite a bit in high school, so I was excited to go back and listen to these albums, but also more importantly get really acquainted with a few of the albums that I might have slept on, like their newest album, Congregation of the Damned, and revisiting Long Live and In Our Wake. So what I'm going to do is go through these 8, rank them from least favorite to most favorite, and just like with a lot of other videos, no bad albums here. They're all great in their own way, or some of them are incredible. Give you my ranking and give you my top 10 tracks. And be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out the Ranked and Reviewed playlist where you can see all the other bands I've done. They're predominantly metalcore, subgenres of metal, but I've done a few other non-metal bands as well. But Atreyu was one of those bands. I might put this picture up on the slideshow. Atreyu was one of those bands where I had a poster of them in my room, and when I was laying in my bed for hours, like just hours upon hours, having phone calls like in the mid to late 2000s on my flip phone, talking with best friends or my girlfriend, I spent hours just looking at that Atreyu poster. So again, big part of my life, and one of my probably easily top 3 concerts of all time was Taste of Chaos 2008, and Atreyu was one of the big bands on that bill. The other band I've done a ranked and reviewed on is Avenged Sevenfold, and then the other one I'll be doing here in October when they drop their new album is Bullet for My Valentine. So Atreyu is number 2 of the big 3 Taste of Chaos bands that I'll be doing. So let's go ahead and get into it. No further rambling. The spread between my least favorite album and most favorite album is a 7.85 out of 10 up until a 9. So a 7.85 just means it's really good, not super great at all, but still really good, pretty easy to listen to. And then a 9 is just excellent. So let's go ahead and get into it. At the number 8 spot, we have their most recent album, Baptized. Now, part of me knew that this one was going to fall at the bottom, but that was before I actually had more information about the album. For some odd reason, I thought that this single that they put out I think it's called Battle Drums, they did some like crossover genre thing. I thought that particular song was indicative of what Baptized was going to be like. I thought Baptized was going to be this weird experimental electronic album, and I was just going to hate it. That wasn't the case. I actually ended up liking it more than I thought I would. Songs like Weed and Catastrophe are fun and easy to listen to and catchy. Underrated as a solid single. But the easiest reason that I'd have to put this album at the bottom is, even though Brandon is doing great on lead vocals and Mark has always had a great scream, the band missing Alex. I'm not sure why he left, but Alex really is the driving force behind that band. I mean, every musician in that band, both guitarists, the bassist, screamer, and then Brandon on the drum kit and singing, they all make Atreyu. There's no weak link in that band. But if you take away a certain piece, and especially one as vital as the lead vocalist, even though, like I said, Brandon is solid on vocals, but I think Alex is better. I like his scream better. When he does do clean vocals, I think they complement Brandon's dominant clean vocals very well. So you just missed a vital component here. Some of the songs have really stripped down guitar sounds, so the album is not without heaviness, it's not without breakdowns, it's not without a couple of solid guitar solos here and there. But a couple of features on here were kind of weak, unfortunately, even though the artists that were featured are all artists I love. You had Jacoby Shaddix, you had Matt Heafy of Papa Roach and Trivium, respectively, and you had Travis Barker play drums on Warrior, I believe. But I didn't think the features on any of those songs were particularly awesome. There are better features on other albums, in my opinion. So, missed opportunity, in my opinion. Again, the guitar riffs here and there are kind of weak, but I think it's either Save Us or Underrated. Has a pretty catchy guitar hook to it. And then again, songs like Weed and Catastrophe do a pretty good job, no matter what. But yeah, there's just really no songs that I love on this album. And overall, I just felt like this band really missed Alex here. So at the number 8 spot, it's their most recent release, Baptized. Worth a listen if you're an Atreyu fan. I listened to it once or twice. Worth giving it a shot. But if you love Alex, this is probably going to be your least favorite album, especially if you like the heavier stuff like me. Number 7 spot goes to the 2009 release, Congregation of the Damned, which was the album I thought was going to be the worst. I know I just said that about Baptized, but when I re-listened to Congregation of the Damned, I was like, ugh, uh-oh. But then I said, you know what, Jay, this might be a grower of an album, and it certainly was. And like I said at the top, there are no bad Atreyu albums. I think what happened here was Atreyu just put out 4 fucking bangers, and then they just kind of took a step back here. This album just kind of doesn't lack an identity, but it just is missing some consistency. Like, it sounds disjointed here and there, but what makes it better than Baptized is, of course, the heaviness and the presence of Alex. Songs like Coffin Nails, Gallows, which, same key, similar song structure. Gallows sounds like Dean the Arsonist Part 2. And then Storm to Pass, back-to-back singles here. Storm to Pass sounds like The Crimson Part 2. Same key, kind of similar song structure. 2 back-to-back incredible singles. And then you got a couple of other solid tracks like I said, Coffin Nails, Lonely. And then there's some solid riffs here and there in songs like Bleeding is a Luxury, cool breakdown in the title track. Catchy choruses like Insatiable, and the closing track is a pretty solid ballad, Wait for You. But, out of 13 rateable tracks, about half the album's kind of weak, Black Days Begin is one of Atreyu's weakest tracks. So Wrong, Ravenous, not really songs I can get too excited about. So there are bits and pieces of pretty much every song on the album that are worth it, and a couple of tracks that are just overall great, like the chorus to Storm the Pass. I fucking love that chorus, and I love how Alex's vocals really complement Brandon's, and the guitar work on those are pretty solid too. But Congregation of the Damned just sounds a bit disjointed. Some of the heaviness just doesn't sound super refined, but it is better than Baptized because it does have more of an edge to it, and based on where they were at in their career and what they had, A couple of the best tracks certainly outperform the best tracks on Baptize. So at the number 7 spot, we have Congregation of the Damned, just beating Baptized by a little bit. I'd say they're almost tied at the bottom, but I'd give the slight edge to Congregation. Number 7 spot goes to their 2018 release, In Our Wake, where I thought that they were going to be a little bit more experimental, a little bit more electronic, but pretty much every Atreyu album has some sort of edge to it because none of it's without guitar work or anything not heavy. They just get a little poppy here and there. But what gives In Our Wake such a solid boost above the bottom 2 albums is the hooks. Brandon's courses on here sound incredible. Some of them might even be able to hang with some of the even better albums, but there's a couple of weaker tracks on here like No Control, Blind, Deaf, and Dumb. The opening track's okay, the title track, and then Anger Left Behind. While some of those tracks have great choruses, the rest of the song might be kind of weak in the verses. Not the best guitar work here and there, but songs like House of Gold or Catchy make you feel good, kind of reminds you of like the more melancholy, heavy parts of like Lead Sails, Paper Anchor, and The Open is another awesome track. The Time Is Now, even though it sounds kind of like a sellout song, I like the key that it's in. Atreyu really does the key of C minor excellent. It's really catchy. It's a real good feel-good song. Nothing Will Ever Change is a great song. Terrified is a bit of a ballad. It sounded better back then when I first heard it, but I still think it's a solid track. Same thing with Safety Pin. The closing track, which I might deem a little overrated, actually has great features. Aaron Gillespie of Under Oath and Matt Shadows of Avenged Sevenfold sound great on this song. In fact, parts of this song sound a little bit like a more melodic Avenged Sevenfold track. So In Our Wake delivers on more of the hooks, even on some of the weaker songs like Anger Left Behind, Paper Castle, No Control. And the album just has more of an identity overall, in my opinion. And you have all the bandmates participating pretty solidly here, but it just doesn't stack up to what the preceding albums that are on this ranked and reviewed do. But again, top tracks off of In Our Wake, House of Gold, In the Ocean, and probably Terrified. Superhero's great too. It's a beautiful song about being a father. Music video is really touching as well. But let's move on. And at the number 5 spot, we actually have a 2-way tie here, but I'm going to give the tiniest little disadvantage to their first album, Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses. This is one of the few bands where my initial introduction to them, aside from seeing Right Side of the Bed music video on Fuse back in 2004 or maybe 2005, my initial full album exposure to them was their first album, Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses. Great album, great title, great artwork, great songs, great raw energy, great classic metalcore sounds with a twist of like early mid 2000s emo in the slightest way. This album was a little bit ahead of its time in terms of like the metalcore sound and everything, because again it was 2002 and a lot of those bands were really starting to break out. But what set Atreyu apart from bands like Killswitch or Shadows Fall or As I Lay Dying, they had a little bit of an emo edge to them, not just with their appearance, but maybe a little bit with the sound, the lyrical themes and the appearance, and maybe Brandon's vocals early on. But the album kicks off pretty hard with Song for the Optimists. You got Dean the Arsonist, which is a fun song to learn as a guitar player. My best friend in high school and I, we would used to both play guitar. We would cover Dean the Arsonist. We'd play Lip Gloss in Black, which Lip Gloss in Black is a freaking metalcore classic. That song is pretty much up there with songs like End of Heartache, Rose of Sharon, Confined. There's just some really great tracks on here, and it's an overall very consistent album. It's raw, it's heavy, everybody sounds good. I mean, the vocals aren't where they're going to be on future albums, and neither is the guitar work. But overall, as a first release effort, Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses, for where they were at in their career and everything, they really hit the ground running here, and it was going to really showcase what would be coming out later. So again, number 5 spot goes to their first album from 2002, and the top tracks are Dean the Arsonist, of course, Lip Gloss in Black. You cannot fuck with that guitar solo, that piano, that bridge. That entire song is incredible, the music video. Other favorite tracks are Somebody Standing on My Chest, fucking Vampire's Lament, all the songs I loved in high school. Number 4 spot, by the tiniest margin, I'm going to give to their comeback album, 2015's Long Live, which, after a 6-year hiatus, is exactly what you would want from Atreyu. For them to come back heavy and strong and refined and sounding great. I mean, as far as I know, Alex had gotten in even better shape and took care of himself and his vocals and everything. So Long Live is just a solid album. It's just... It's not packed with like all of Atreyu's best songs, but just like the consistency and the theme of the album is very solid from front to back. And then songs like Live to Labor, Start to Break, those are my favorite tracks. They really hit it hard with the choruses. If I hold my head... Wait, is it Revival or is it Start to Blame? I just know that some of the... or is it Live to Labor? There's just it's Live to Labor. The fucking chorus and just the drop C but D minor key that they play in. It's just such a epic, heart tugging song. Like I love when bands play in the key of D minor, but it's in the key. It's they have the guitars drop down to C. Some of Atreyu's best songs, they do that. They're playing in drop C, but they play in the key of D minor, and it just gives you that cool 0-2 fretboard riff. I'm talking the guitar here. But it opens solid with Long Live. You got A Bitter American Memory, whatever that song's called. You got Revival, Brass Balls, Moments Before Dawn. And then, of course, Start to Break is the best track on the album. Again, Long Live just has a very solid, heavy edge to it with a couple of melodic parts here and there. But they just came out swinging after a hiatus. And based on where they were at, this is definitely their best album of the last decade. I guess you'd say modern day Atreyu. This was their best album pretty easily. But let's go ahead and get to the top 4, or the top 3, which are clearly from, in my opinion, the golden age of Atreyu. Probably not breaking any new ground here. The number 3 spot goes to their third release from 2006, A Death Grip on Yesterday. The only reason this album suffers is because it's short. It's only 9 tracks. It's a little short. Frankly, I didn't listen to this album a whole lot front to back. When I was younger, I was mostly listening to the singles and Our Sick Story, but songs like We Stand Up, Your Private War, Fork in the Road, like those I didn't listen to a whole lot back in the day, but listening to them now, they still hold up pretty well. But you got one of their top tracks of all time on this song. You got X's and O, which is just a fucking masterpiece. Great guitar work, great hooks, super heavy, the melodic hits right. This is just Atreyu with their best right here. It opens with a awesome metalcore classic, Creature, Shameful. There's just a lot of heaviness here, but like a lot of hooks. Like Atreyu sounds really refined on this album. It's a little short, and some of the filler tracks just don't hold up compared to these other albums that I'm about to share. But The Theft, beautiful song, great riff. I think it's C major that they play in here. So yeah, The Theft, X's and O's, the singles overall really elevate this album really high up. For 2006, this is definitely one of the golden age albums. I think that their best album is certainly more likely to be golden age in my opinion, but I understand why a lot of people think A Death Grip on Yesterday is among their best or probably their best. I just think it's their third best. Number 2 spot goes to the follow-up album from 2007, Lead Sails, Paper Anchor. Now, this is definitely the most sentimental album for me. I've listened to this album from front to back more times than I can count. I got it when it came out. I even bought the bonus edition that had the Squeeze and Clean Sheets on it. I forgot who covered that or what that song's a cover of. But Lead Sails, Paper Anchor was kind of like their first time at veering away from the metalcore sound and getting more experimental. But they just did it really well, because like the heaviness is still on the album. I mean, fucking Doomsday, aside from the number one album, has the best opening track. Doomsday is a fucking banger. That chorus is iconic. They got experimental with songs like Falling Down, but they did it really well. They still kept the metalcore sound with Becoming the Bull. One of their best tracks of all time is on this album, When Two Are One. That freaking thrash fest, that guitar solo fest, like you just can't fuck with When Two Are One. The perfect marriage between beautiful epic melodies and just blistering heaviness. When Two Are One, definitely like top 3 songs right there. They hit it hard again with the drop C, but in the key of D minor songs. Lose It is where Alex really starts to demonstrate his clean vocals. Like Lead Sails Paper Anchor is where Alex really comes out full force with his clean and heavy vocals. Slow Burn is another epic catchy track. So Atreyu really hits hard with the heaviness on this album, but when they kind of go more radio rock in certain songs like Slow Burn or Falling Down, they do it really well because they have the musicians that make it work. Can't Happen Here, it's, in my opinion, is just another classic metalcore song. I'm probably saying some of these terms ad nauseum, but that's just how I feel. I love the simplicity of the guitar solo on that. I think Blow is kind of overrated. They were just trying to go for like that 80s Bon Jovi sound, but it's not bad, and it was fun to listen to live when they would play it. But the closing track, the title track, I can't tell you how many times I would listen to that song on repeat in my Jeep, driving to work or like hanging out with friends. Like Lead Sails Paper Anchor is just a album for the ages, and just having that many solid albums in a row is what really makes Atreyu one of my favorite bands from the time. I'd probably put Atreyu, I don't know, maybe top 20 bands. Like I forgot how much I love them. But the biggest reason I love them, of course, is their number one album, their absolute best album, the sophomore success, The Curse from 2004. The freaking angst, the emo metalcore angst that I felt in 8th grade when this album came out. They just fucking took all the success of their first album and they just churned it up to 10 with songs like Bleeding Mascara, fucking Right Side of the Bed. But I mean, my favorite Atreyu song is on this album, and that's You Eclipse by Me. That's actually my favorite song from them to this day. I had their fucking like second verse as my MySpace quote for a while. But aside from the Crimson and all the singles and everything, they really fucking kill it with the non-singles. This Flesh of Tomb, I love that song so much. The guitar work, the the key of E minor, like it sounds really serious and really heavy and really melodic at the same time. It just sounds like such an evil album, but it's uplifting with songs like the Remembrance Ballad. The interlude is fantastic. The guitar work and core setting, the guitar solos in between the verses, really great. You still got a couple of other solid singles. Like the amount of singles on this album: Demonology and Heartache, My Sanity on the Funeral Pyre. The only reason why this album probably didn't get like a 10 out of 10 is because of the last 2 tracks, which is Nevada's Grace and Five Vicodin Chase with a Shot of Clarity. They're still great tracks, but they just don't hold up compared to... so out of 12 songs, the first 10 are all fucking awesome and iconic on some level. It just kind of dropped a little at the end there, but I still give this album a 9 out of 10. It is excellent, at least the first half of the album, all the way up until the interlude, really. Every song, full force blast to the face. The memories associated with this album, the singles and non-singles, and again, You Eclipse by Me, the absolute best track. Again, Bleeding Mascara is a classic. Always sounds great live. Right Side of the Bed, another freaking mid-2000s metalcore golden age classic. The music video, the simple guitar solo. It was just a great way for beginner guitar players or intermediate guitar players to really hone their craft. Atreyu was one of those accessible bands that you could really cover their stuff and get better. So let's do a quick review and then do the top 10 tracks. From 8 to 1, Baptized, Congregation of the Damned, In Our Wake, Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses, Long Live, Death Grip on Yesterday, Lead Sails and Paper Anchor, and the best album is The Curse. Top 10 tracks: Live to Labor, Can't Happen Here, Lip Gloss and Black, The Theft, Crimson, Lead Sails, Paper Anchor. Why do I keep saying pepper? Right Side of the Bed, When Two Are One, X's and O's, and of course their best track in my opinion is You Eclipse by Me. So thank you guys for watching, listening. Comment what your opinions are about Atreyu. What's your favorite album? What did I place wrong in your opinion? How would you do it differently? What are your favorite tracks? What stories do you have? Again, Atreyu was a band I slept on for a while, but they were huge for me in high school. I've seen them live like 3 or 4 times. I love them. I know the band members very well, not personally, but like that's a band where I could rattle off everybody's names. And yeah, they're just very memorable, and they write incredible music. And even though Alex isn't in the band anymore, I'm confident that they're still a solid group of guys putting out great music. And it's keep supporting them however you can. Go listen to their new album and enjoy their old music too. So subscribe, check out the rest of the playlist, and I will catch you guys on the next one.